Sisterhood is a superpower. The way that you can relax and laugh and tell stories and be vulnerable.
Your girlfriend group is, I don't even know the word. They're all epic. They're great. You guys seem to be having the best time.
It's the joy and the fun and the laughter, but it's also the help and the healing and the how do we move forward and the problem solving.
Right.
And then you go back to the laughing and the fun and the joy.
Can you, for people who don't understand, explain the cultural significance of BET?
Working at the company,
Right.
you kind of like, this is Black excellence before Black excellence was a thing.
Right.
This is just a place of magic. And you look at pretty much anybody whose start, like their first performances were on some BET platform.
Oh, wow.
Even Kevin Hart, I remember when the head of programming at BET was like, we want to have Kevin Hart host the BET Awards. And at the time I was like, wait, who? Like, I wasn't like, I knew he was, but like, I didn't really. And then literally after the BET Awards, the trajectory of Kevin Hart, you can just watch it. I don't think that Black people generally, and certainly BET, gets as much credit as they should for creating culture.
Welcome to another episode of The Embraced Life, a masterclass in living well from those who live well. And today I have a very, you always kind of say everyone's a special guest, but this is really a special guest. She has been a mentor. She has been a support of my business and also many other people. She's one of those rare people who is not only respected, but also who is loved and admired. So, who is this person? Jeanine Liburd. I've made notes for this one. Jeanine Liburd is the most recently, formerly the Executive Vice President of Marketing, Corporate Communications, and Corporate Social Responsibility at BET Networks, where she helped shape the voice of the most influential platform in Black media. We're going to talk about that. She was also the Senior Vice President of Corporate Communications at Viacom, guiding messaging across MTV networks, BET, and Paramount Pictures. Before that, she worked with the powerhouse comms firm RLM, working with brands like Oxygen, CNBC, AOL, and Showtime. And she even worked in the New York mayor's office with Mayor Dinkins, and also worked in the Clinton White House. And through all of that, she's built a beautiful life, got an amazing family, great husband, great kids, and she is an incredible friend. Jeanine Liburd, welcome to the podcast.
Hi. Oh my gosh, that was such an incredible introduction. I was like, who is he talking about?
This is all you. It's like, all you.
Who is that? Who is that
Anything
person?
I missed there? I know you've had a couple of awards, Gracie,
you got the
Matrix,
highlights.
a few things.
You got, Dancing of Harlem.
Oh, yes.
Girl Scouts.
There you go.
But it's all good.
Yeah. So good to have you.
Thank you.
Like I said, you have been a great supporter of what we do in the studio. But, for people who don't know, tell us in your own words, who is Jeanine Liburd?
Wow. Who is Jeanine Liburd? It's funny. I was talking to my oldest daughter last night, and we were talking about just getting through life. And I said, what I want for you is just to have joy and have fun.
Right.
And I think that's me. There's a lot going on in the world, particularly right now.
Right.
As you think about life, you just have to calm down. And I've kind of always lived that way, but it hits a little different now. And I think what defines me is really always searching for that pocket of joy, always really living in it, trying to be present in the moment. I appreciate what you said about respecting other people. I really think it's important to respect other people. Typically, we have issues with people, but we don't really know what they're really going through. And I like to think that that's one of the things I take the time to do.
Oh, fantastic. And you do bring the joy. You do bring
I
the
try.
joy.
I try.
That is definitely your aura.
I try.
You've gotten through quite a bit, right?
Yes.
You've had a very expansive career, but you started working in, part of your career was working in Mayor Dinkins' office. You also worked in the Clinton White House. And what was it about politics that drew you to that in the early part of your career?
Interestingly enough, it was less about politics and more about policy. I went to Vassar and I went to Spelman College as well. And while I was at Spelman, I had this wonderful professor. Her name was Dr. Gloria Wade Gales. And she kind of helped me think about like what I would do for the rest of my life or what I thought I would do for the rest of my life. Let me rephrase. And she encouraged me to pursue public policy. And that's what got me to grad school, at the New School, and ultimately what got me working through a program called the Urban Fellows Program under David Dinkins. And it was really about how do we make lives better for people? Like, why do we live in this rich country and people are starving? I worked actually just down the street from here and worked with people, adults, who didn't know how to read. And that was like, I couldn't even wrap my head around that. So how do you get a job if you can't read and you're 50? So it was very humbling to work with these incredible people, the instructors at the program. It was called the Employability Skills Project. And it was very grounding in what a person really needs and spending time with someone and understanding their story. So how have you been able to maintain your life in New York City and not be able to read and have to feed your family and have to just live and survive? So that's kind of where I started. And it really just built my interest in, okay, I want to dedicate my life to helping people live their best lives and just really tap into and have the resources that they need. So that was, I think, what started me on that path. And then I'll just say Giuliani became mayor and I'll park that. I'll park it there.
Let's park it.
We'll park it there. And then, along with many other fine Democrats, we took our talents to Washington, D.C. and worked in the White House.
Well, to that point, I heard somewhere that part of the plan when you were younger was to become mayor of New York.
That was a plan. I have been known to have said that, apparently.
And so we could use you right now. How did you get from, policy, working in government, to what you ended up doing, being in communications and media?
Yeah. What was really interesting was I worked at Department of Health and Human Services, and you could tour different departments. So I was working in the research department with Peter Edelman, who Marian Wright Edelman's husband, around children and family policy, particularly an emphasis on fatherhood. And we did a lot of research. So we were planning an evaluation. So I was very steeped in data at the time.
Wow.
So when I went to work at the White House, I was working at the Domestic Policy Council, and we helped and shape a lot of different policies across the board, but mainly in child and family policy. And again, also in fatherhood issues. And we were working on a big project, and I ended up working with the media team because there was going to be a press release written about it. So most of the policy and research, you're just kind of toiling away. It doesn't all get to the level where the president is going to announce a piece of the findings.
Right.
So in the process of working on the press release and working with the communications team and just the things that I thought were really critical, they didn't necessarily think were as critical.
Right.
It was like, what were the buzzwords? What were the things that were going to make the news?
Right.
How are we going to make this, press release and I'm like, no, I want to focus on the data.
Right.
And they're like, no, we want to focus on the message. And so it really taught me, okay, you can have the best research in the world, but if it doesn't tell the story that whoever's in charge wants to tell, it might not really matter.
Yeah.
And we're seeing some of that today, but I'll definitely park that. And so that's kind of the first time that I kind of saw, okay, this is how media impacts policy, impacts politics, because it's all very linked.
Right.
And it was from that I also learned I wasn't really a politics girl. And most people know that.
Well, why not?
When I say politics, I mean the back and forth and the human ego part of politics, the game playing.
Right.
Where it's not about solving an actual issue. It's about winning a particular platform. And that is another set of skills that I don't necessarily is my skill set.
Right.
And I learned pretty quickly in that environment that politics oftentimes ruled the day and was also sometimes won over good policy.
Wow.
And that made me kind of rethink, is this what I really want to be doing for like the rest of my life? I don't know. Or is there another way to get at this? If we're so focused on how the message gets to the media, maybe that's the side I should be working on.
Got you. Now, we're going to do a big jump forward because, like I said, you've worked RLM, you over a lot of brands with Viacom, right? You've been in politics. And now what you're most known for, I would say, is your work at BET, right? So can you, for people who don't understand, explain the cultural significance of BET, what it meant at the time, and not just to Black culture, but to culture across the board?
Gosh, big question. The thing about BET, even before I started working, and it's kind of funny because being in DC when I was working there, BET was happening. We would go to different parties and Walk of Fame and all of these things. So even well before I started working at the company,
Right.
you kind of like, this is Black excellence before Black excellence was a thing.
Right.
This is just a place of magic where all these incredible things are happening. We're being applauded. And so I always saw it from that perspective, but from afar. When I went to work there, I really realized how BET, like no other platform, just lived in the culture 365. And by that, I mean every day of every year, not Black History Month. We always say, it's not just Black History Month here. It's Black History all the time.
Right.
And it's all the pieces and all the messy parts, the fun parts, the funny parts, the political parts. And so watching the evolution of BET has also been interesting, watching the growth of Black culture into all of mainstream culture, if you will.
Right.
When you look at pretty much anybody whose start, like their first performances were on some BET platform.
Oh, wow.
Everyone always remembers that MTV at first didn't play Michael Jackson. So there were a lot of artists who didn't get a run on MTV or a lot of the other platforms, and BET was the place that embraced them, that grew them. And I think of even Kevin Hart. I remember when the head of programming at BET was like, we want to have Kevin Hart host the BET Awards. And at the time I was like, wait, who? Like, I wasn't like, I knew he was, but like, I didn't really. And then literally after the BET Awards, the trajectory of Kevin Hart, you can just watch it and you can just kind of go down the line of so many different people.
Wow.
Just to show the impact that those incredible moments, those incredible talent, I mean, you can just literally go down the line and it's kind of incredible to watch and have been a part of.
Right.
I don't think that Black people generally, and certainly BET, gets as much credit as they should for creating culture. I was watching a clip, something of Shabuzi was saying, I guess it was some award show, and there was a comment made about the forefathers of country music, and he was like, no. These are the forefathers of country music. So we're constantly having to tell our stories, and I think we have to tell it to everyone, but we have to tell it to each other.
Yeah.
Because I think part of the joy of working at BET all those years was just informing Black people about their own history and having conversations about things that we need to understand and know, whether it's the political process, whether it's what's happening with the marijuana laws, whether it's looking at our physical and mental health. There are things that are very specific to Black people, Black women, Black men, and you have to have those deep dives. And I think that was critical and so important about our work there.
Oh, one of the things I do have to ask just for that is love and happiness.
Oh.
I mean, can you explain how Love and Happiness came about?
And oh my gosh.
Because I didn't know you then, right? No. And I remember watching it and thinking, this is the best thing that I have ever seen. That was a definite cultural moment.
That was a moment. I mean, the one thing I'm going to say about us is we are persistent. So that was 2016, which was significant which I'll say in a second. But at one point, just working with Deborah Lee, who was my boss at BT, she's like, I want to do something in the White House. We want to do something. We should do something. What are we going to do?
Right.
So we're like, I don't know. We'll do something. I don't know. Started this conversation probably in the first administration of what are we going to do? And then,
in the first
Obama administration. And we just never kind of got the right thing. We did lots of interviews with the president and things like that. But in terms of a large scale thing. We just didn't kind of hit the nail on the head.
Right.
Working with the then social secretary, Deisha Dyer, we sat one day and we were like, look, we have got to figure this out. And as the administration was winding down, one of the things we knew to do an event, when they do them in the gold room, you can have like maybe 100 people. I'm like, there's no way. Like BT, that like to get like that's just, we need a bigger space.
Right.
So we decided that there was the last state dinner was going to be held on the lawn.
Right.
And we said, you know what? We can do it like the next day. And then we'll have the lawn, the tent will already be set. We can create this thing. And we were like, okay, so now that we have an idea, let's get it all signed off. So once we get all the parties to sign off, we get the programming team on it, we start building what it is. And, we want it to be honoring, the president and the first lady. And their style is not that. Like, they don't want to be honored in that way. And they're like, we are happy we want this celebration, but it's not about us. It's about everybody. And I was actually dropping my daughter off to school, my youngest daughter, Nyla, and we were in the car and we're just talking. And I'm on the phone with Deisha and we're like, we had to come up with another name really quickly because we were trying to promote it and do all the things. And somehow we're just talking and
no way.
And we just come up with love and happiness in the car. So it was just I'm just talking to my daughter and we're just like, what about love and happiness? And we're like, that's it. Yeah. It's love and happiness. And of course, this is before the election.
Right.
At this time, I'm pretty confident Hillary Clinton's going to win. So I'm like, this is going to be great. We're running it back. And then we all know what happens. So by the time this airs, Trump has won and everyone is like, needs a release.
Right.
And just to be together, and I think for the staff, for the president, for the first lady, like all the talent that came.
Well, you got to explain.
I mean, we had the Roots, we had Usher, we had Jill. I mean, it all just was
in the White House.
All in the, and the best part was the whole week we were just around. We were playing with the dogs. We were up and we took the place over. Like we really did feel like it was the people's house.
Right.
And everyone just had. I mean, Dave Chappelle was just in the audience. Like people, like everybody was just there and having a great time. There's like this epic picture with Naomi Campbell and D Nice DJ'd and that the after party was I mean you can't I mean who swag surfs in the white like no and there was supposed to be no cameras. One celebrity did let out a little leaked footage. I will call their names, but I said I didn't have anything to do with it when the president came down to dance.
Wow.
But it was an incredible moment. And I think even for them, I mean, they really were so intentional about everything that they did. And they always wanted to reflect Black people in the best light. And I think they were very tempered, and to be able to just let their hair down this was like the one of the last 3 events that they had before they moved. And so it was just a great thanks for asking that question. So it's so great. It's like literally I wish I did know you then because you would have been there.
I would have been up in there.
You would have been up there. Yeah, everyone I still have friends who are still like a little salty. That the invite didn't come their way. I'm like, well,
oh, that's funny. So, I mean, look, we've got these iconic moments. You got Love and Happiness. You got, the New Edition story. You got all of these big moments, right? Do you look back and is it easy to see how you've helped shape the culture? Or is it just a job that you did? Like, what do you think when you look back?
When I look back, I think, I don't think I did anything. I think I was lucky to be a part of a team that really loved and loves us.
Right.
And that was just a different place to be.
Right.
Where everybody is like, how do we make this like the best? How do we make sure we look the best? How do we make sure this really looks like the way we look? So brown caramel chocolate.
Right,
Like
right.
we don't want it to look like people think Black people should look, or
Right.
think like we want it to reflect us and our
Right.
lives. What I was able to do was create teams and give people the space to do their best work and just really lean into the joy of culture and the joy of being Black in this country as well as across the globe. You know, part of one year, but this was before I worked at BT, we launched the 100th MTV channel in South Africa.
Right.
And we had this big concert with Ludacris and Will Smith and like all these things. And that kind of birthed to bringing BT International as well.
Oh, wow.
And so it's not just about what happens here. It's what
Right.
happens overseas and that reflection of who we are and our history and our contributions.
Right.
One of my favorite shows that we did every year was BET Honors. We did it in DC, and we did it, I want to say almost throughout the whole Obama administration, if I remember correctly. I mean, we were able to award Maya Angelou, Michelle Obama. I was standing there. That's probably my most stressful moment ever because Maya Angelou was on oxygen. So she would remove it to accept her award. So we had a very specific period of time upon which everything had to happen and get Ms. Angelou back to her oxygen.
Wow.
So that was a very stressful BET Honors. To be able to have honored so many from Ken Chanel, from our business community as well, to our creative community, has been incredible. And I think I love that show.
Right.
Because it was able to do so much of that great acknowledgement. And the same with Black Girls Rock, Beverly Bond and Black Girls Rock. I mean, you just don't see this at that level and that scale and that scope. And it's beautiful on a big stage. It's literally like the best thing to see yourself gorgeous on stage. And then having everyone come, on a red carpet and having those moments and having like all the young girls. I remember one year Alicia Keys performed and there was like a bunch of our girls and like she sang like right in front of them and like they were like, wow. Like who gets to do that when you're 10, 11, 12 to create moments where our young people could be inspired by talent in that way?
Amazing.
One
of the things I loved watching, like I'm a fan of BT.
Right.
I've seen, Love and Happiness. And so, watching you and your working relationship with Deborah Lee from afar, right? Because I wasn't in your world. It just seemed like, wow, I get to witness this, right? And so I'm just wondering because you guys were pretty much in lockstep, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah. For sure.
So not only just a professional relationship, but a personal relationship. And so what does that feel like at that level? Because you're doing something, and I know you guys are just going to work every day, but you're doing something groundbreaking, something exciting, something very different. This is female CEO of a media company that's making waves, right? Like, what does that feel like? What is that whole thing?
Feels really good. I think it feels good. And I have been so lucky to work with bosses who are leaders.
Right.
And who treat people respectfully and like truly want what's best for the world. So this goes back to working with MTV, with Tom Preston and Judy McGrath, Carol Robinson. I can go on and on. So I kind of grew up in this culture where people expect you to step up and be great and like come up with great, dope ideas and like do it. Like that's what we do.
Right.
And Deborah's like that times 10.
Wow.
So, because she's like, so this is what I'm thinking, like, get to it.
Right.
And what would be great is that she really trusted your ideas. And with that trust is a little trepidation because you wanted to make sure it was amazing. And Leading Women is a perfect example of that. She had gone to a BT hip hop show. And let's just say it was a lot of male energy.
Okay.
And she was flying home and she's basically like, we need to do something else. We need to just do a little something for the ladies. So like, well, how can we, and talk about some issues that had come up in that particular hip hop Sure.
Right.
And that's how Leading Women was born. So there was something special about someone like her noticing that there was a gap
Right.
and that there was a need for this conversation with Black women of all different areas of expertise. So not just music and entertainment, but health and politics and government and business, to come together to check in on how are we doing with what's going on in the world
Right.
around us. Like,
Right.
are we good?
Right.
And how do we give ourselves some common language, and how do we create a community of sisterhood? So what I love most to answer your question is what Deb and I were able to do was take our sisterhood, our community, our relationship, and say, okay, how can we make this inclusive and bigger and get all of these incredible women to come together in a way that they might not have come together before, and share a little bit about themselves to be better mothers, daughters, workers, leaders in the community. And that's how Leading Women Define was born.
Yeah, it's just an amazing group. And for anyone who doesn't know, it's like 150 of the most influential women in business, politics, media across the board, right?
And it is still going strong. I was so happy when she took it with her on her journey out of BET. So we just had the last Leading Women this past April, and it was transformative.
Wow. So you've seen this happen, seen this major shift, and you're in lockstep with Deborah Lee. Now, I'm asking this question because I think a lot of people are going through this in a different way. But Deborah Lee steps down. There's a new leadership, probably new culture, new philosophy, right? And so how does that, how do you deal with that transition? Because right now, people are dealing with a lot of different kinds of transition, right? And that might not be specific to what's happening now, but it's still a major head, heart, you know. So how does that?
Well, it was a big transition. It was a huge transition in terms of leadership style,
right?
In terms of structure, in terms of what was going on with the media at that time. That was kind of like the beginning of the contraction. While Deborah was leading, it was we were starting original programming. Budgets were expanding. So just as you have this change of leadership, you have a new programming direction. We had Tyler Perry join. You have a lot of executives leaving, a few of us staying. So it was a lot. It was a lot to manage. And I think for me, that was a time where I had to take a really deep pause and say, okay, hey, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this transition, either by my choice or another choice. So that was one. And just to be okay with that. And just to relax, because I think part of when there is a transition, your immediate go-to is like lose your mind a little bit, like start stressing, acting erratically, and just being. And so I literally had to mentally talk to myself and just say, you're good. Like, you are good. No matter what happens, you're good. So just lock in on what you have to do and get to it.
Right.
And that was really, and it was, I'm making it short, but it took me a minute to get there. But that was what it was. Because I was also, and it's funny, we just, part of Leading Women, we were talking about grieving. And that grieving is not just about loss of a person, but grieving, you can grieve a situation.
Yeah.
So I have the language now. I didn't have it then. But I was grieving this relationship with a boss that I had that was great. I was grieving the community that she had created that was very intentional. And I was grieving kind of the shift into a new environment. And I didn't realize that at the time. But again, now I have the language to understand it. So shifting into like a new gear, you realize this is a new tool. You got to dig deep in that toolkit.
Right.
Pull out some other tools because these are new tools you're going to need. And that was really helpful ultimately because I was like, oh, you're going to have to step up in a different way. You're going to have to communicate in a different way. And you're going to have to lean in a different way because this is a new person who knows you in a different capacity, who has a different set of expectations. So how are you going to step up? And then COVID happened.
Oh.
So we're just moving and grooving, and then
Right.
COVID happened. So that was kind of another moment of, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
But ultimately, that became, this sounds weird, but it allowed me in this new relationship with this new person to come up and work together in a way that was unanticipated.
Right.
He really pushed me to kind of come up with an idea. How could we service our community, knowing that COVID was going to disproportionately affect Black people? So what does that mean? How do we, as the premier Black network, service our community? And that's when I came up with this idea to do a fundraiser and working with the United Way to raise money for 5 particular cities. And working together, we were able to raise over $19 million.
Wow.
That ultimately went directly to communities that needed the services most. So we did a very deep dive back to my data.
Right. There you
looking at which cities needed the most help. So we were looking at New Orleans, we were looking at Detroit, we were looking at counties in Atlanta. And we were very specific and intentional about what we were doing.
Right.
And I think it was one of those examples where I was able to see his compassion. He was able to see my kind of acumen and understanding of what we needed to do. And it was a really great experience. So it was definitely difficult, but you get through it.
Yeah.
And then you end up pushing yourself and learning more about yourself and more about what you're capable of doing.
Right.
So that was what the great time was for me, to be like, wow, you actually can do what you didn't think you could do.
Awesome. Wow. Now, with all of that, because everything you're talking about requires full engagement.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's not like you can dial it in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so, and you also talk about living a full life where your job is not everything you do.
Correct.
How?
The end.
Yeah. How'd you do that with?
My thing, first of all, I don't understand when people live away from their families and have kids. Like I God bless them, because honestly, I feel like my children have been raised by our complete and total family. And so I could not have done anything without them. My parents and my in-law, my mother-in-law, took care of my kids when they were younger. So we never had a nanny. We never had any of that. So it was really just my husband and I and our family members that took care of our kids all through everything. And so it was a true village. Even to my sister-in-law who did the hair braiding. Like, I cannot braid a hair on, well, as we can see, I don't have a hair in my head. But I had another sister-in-law who did the costumes for Halloween every year. So it really was a village that was so helpful. My dad would pick up my kids from school once they were kind of older every day. It was really about a full family execution. And of course, my husband, when I would travel, because all these shows require you to be gone for multiple days, to assist, like, just making sure everything runs smoothly. So it really is a village. And then I think another big part of that are your fellow moms in the army of whatever school, wherever you are. We always say hashtag one good mom. It takes like all 10 of us to be like, do you remember there's the dance thing? We got to bring in the lunch. You got to, well, can you bring in the lunch today? Because I'm traveling, but I'll pick up if you drop off. And just a level of communication and respect and admiration for moms who worked, moms who didn't work, or worked in the home, I should say. And really, like, it was a group effort at all times. There's no solo in this game.
Well, and that's, I'm glad that you're sharing that, because it seems to me that a lot of women don't want to share how they're getting it done. And they're going along in silence trying to carry this baggage. And the other thing, what I watched one of your interviews, and my wife has a business which is pretty intense, and she's got like 70 people working for her. So, she has a lot going on, right? And I also, like you, I got 2 daughters, and so I want them to be able to be their full selves wherever that
Right.
happens, right? And so, I've had the privilege again of seeing you and Michael, right? And I watched that. I think it was an acceptance speech you were making at the Matrix, and you had thanked all these people, and then you thanked Michael. And I guess they knew everybody else, and they clapped, and then you thanked Michael, and there wasn't a clap. But then you said, "No, you can go ahead and give him a round of applause or something." And you said, "Because I'm a lot," right? And so I thought to myself,
I don't even remember that.
yeah, you said, "Because I'm a lot," and I'm thinking, to have the careers you both have, to raise a family, like you have, and to be in all these places, spreading all of this joy, right? I thought it was, 1, profound that you said that on stage. 2, that you recognize in whatever your kind of partnership is, that there's got to be some kind of support, whatever that is. Can you explain a little bit of that?
Can I explain? Here's the thing. You start down a journey with someone and you hope and pray. That's all we don't know what we're doing.
Right.
We don't know what we're doing. But we dated for a long time before we actually got married. And so we have a really strong friendship. And I think because we had that long runway and that we had a solid friendship, and that he also worked in the media business for a time at Showtime, kind of understood kind of how I move generally,
right,
and how I need to move to be the best me. Like I'm just, we didn't really have all the delineations of ADD or ADHD or any of that when we were growing up. But I promise you, I have everything because I'm all like, what about this? Well, how about that?
Right.
And he has incredible patience with it. His love for our family and our love for his girls and just making sure that nothing, falls through the cracks is important.
Yeah.
And ultimately you just have to have a common plane to be like, okay, this is what we're doing. Like we might not get to that. We might not get to that.
Right.
But here are the basic things that we have to complete and get done. And I think that's, you just have to just keep reminding each other of that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. And there are going to be mistakes along the way.
Right.
There are going to be things that are messed up. I'm not the most organized all the time. I will forget to send a note. I will forget where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
But grace is another big part of it.
Grace.
Yeah. All around, everybody.
So how do you deal with stress?
Well, working out is one way. That's an easy way. Really just chill. Like, I think just going for a walk.
Right.
Just because stress is constant. It's different kinds of stress. So there's work stress, there's family stress, there's my own personal stress of my own dreams or what I want to do that I haven't done. There's financial stress. Oh, I should have done that. I should have sold that stock. I should have so you're constantly in some stress.
Right.
Like that's just what it is about. But I try to flip the stress into, okay, what are you going to do about that?
Right.
What is a priority in that?
Right.
So if you're stressing about these 54 things, you can't do 54 things. So we can't.
You can't? Really?
You can't. No, but what I will do, my passive aggressive thing, is I'll write the longest list. I will write a list of all 54 things that I will take 3 hours to do it. So I have it.
Right.
It's good to have. But then I'll prioritize and I'll be like, okay, here are the 3 things I really, truly need to get done between now, and I'll put a time on it.
Right.
And that helps calm my stress also because you're like, okay, now I at least know what I'm not doing. So that's the thing that I'm not doing. And I also communicate with people. I'm not doing this.
Right.
This isn't going to, I don't have time. It's not going to get done. I apologize. And, I think the other thing, I just had a friend who joked with me about this, is sometimes things just don't get done and people just have to give you, I said grace before, they have to give you grace. So there's a big joke with my girlfriends that if they watch this, they'll chime in on. But I might not be the quickest to get back on an email or a text. Okay.
That seems like a place
I said it.
A place of acceptance for you.
It's a place of acceptance. I mean, I'm not intentionally not
Right.
responding. I'm doing something.
Right.
Or I'm trying to, and that might be sleeping.
Right. Hey. Yeah.
It might be sleeping. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to stay up all night and make sure every, email is answered and everything. And no, I'm actually going to put on my Law and Order SVU, which is odd going to bed TV, but that's or whatever I'm watching at the time. And I'm going to go to bed.
Okay.
And I'm going to wake up the next morning. And that's another big thing for me is 8 hours of sleep. 8 to 9.
8 to 9 hours of sleep. You are a champion.
8 to
Because I
9
know
hours.
you don't mess around with your sleep.
I really do not mess around with my sleep. So that is another, I can put on my little Chelsea on Peloton, my little meditation, and just
That's it.
go to sleep. So I think that has been really important. And then the other thing is finding joy. Like I love a good dinner. I love a good beverage. I love a good trip.
Yep.
And just creating moments. Like that's all we have. So you're going to have moments when you're intensely doing work or whatever, but then you have to balance that with moments of just like, okay, what am I doing for myself? What am I doing for my family? What am I doing for my friends? And then just really lean into it.
Got 2 more questions for you. Your girlfriend group is, I don't even know the word. They're all epic. They're great. You guys seem to be having the best time. It's
At
like
all times.
At all times.
At all times.
It is not even like, I haven't seen it anywhere else.
At all
Right?
times.
So, and in one of your other interviews, you talked about, I've got to have a plan for travel, a plan for business, a plan for workout, and a girlfriend plan. I was like, who has a girlfriend plan? Like, what is a girlfriend plan? I don't even know the question to ask. Like, talk to me about the value of that.
I said I did. I had an epic birthday party this past May, and I was writing something on Instagram, and I said, "Sisterhood is a superpower." And that's the first time I put it together in that way. And it is literally our superpower because the way that you can relax and laugh and tell stories and be vulnerable. I'm like, I think we had a beautiful weekend. There was no trauma, but yet everyone had a cry moment for whatever was going on in life. And that was fine.
Right.
And it wasn't like, oh my God, they're crying. You're like, just let me rub on your back or finish your sentence or whatever.
Right.
Or what do you need?
Right.
How can I help you find? Oh, is it something with your mother who needs a caretaker?
Right.
Or you're trying to find out your kid is having some mental health issues and we need to find a therapist.
Right.
Is it like, what is it the thing? So it's the joy and the fun and the laughter, but it's also the help and the healing and the how do we move forward and the problem solving.
Right.
And then you go back to the laughing and the fun and the joy.
Right.
And that is just something that we do uniquely well.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think now I definitely have newer friends, but now we're digging in the bench of 30 years, 25 years.
Yeah.
And you have these friendships of women who've also known each other through marriages, divorces, childbirth, child loss, real life that anchors these relationships. So there's nothing fly by night or whimsical about them. And you really start dealing with some heavy, heavy issues. And I think that's what also bonds us also, particularly as we've gotten older. Because certainly earlier in the days, my girlfriend, all you really, what party are we going to? What are we doing? Where are we going? Who's driving?
Right.
We didn't have Uber or the internet or anything. So we were just like, you just go out and figure it out as you go along. Let's go to the tunnel. Right. But now that you have all of this information, you have all of these resources, you have everything, the most simple thing is connection.
Right.
And you can't get that from any device. You can't get that from anything. But what you can get from just human interaction, the endorphins that are released in your body when you're just laughing till you cry.
Right.
And I think everyone realizes that as long as we have that, we can do everything. And that's why sisterhood is a superpower.
Wow. Very well said.
That's That's a new one for me, and I like it. I think I might get it on a T-shirt or something. And I love to watch other sisterhood groups. There's so many, because you have I have lots of friends who are in lots of different groups as well. So you just see it just growing. And I think that that's something that's really, really important, just to have that center and a place where you can share. So you're not ever suffering in silence, that you always have a place to just release. Because once you release whatever that thing is that's laying on your heart, it just makes it so much easier to deal with.
Fantastic.
Like the overthinking that we do is not great.
Your next chapter.
Next chapter.
Now you've taken a sabbatical.
It's
been the most fantastic, fabulous sabbatical I've ever, had the pleasure of witnessing. What's happening? What's next?
Happening? Well, I left BT about over a year ago. At first, I really did not know what I was kind of like. I don't know what I want to do. I need to just sit with myself and my self-help books and just be really thoughtful about what I want to do and what job. And I went to Barbados and I read this really good book called Strength to Strength that a good friend, David Sutphen, recommended that I read. And one of it talked about kind of your strength in one period of your life versus a different set of strengths to employ in the next part of your life. And it was helpful in unlocking, you don't need to go back and do what you already did. You already did it.
Right.
So that's not the strength.
Right.
Now it's built a capacity to do other things.
Yes.
And it kind of was that unlock to say, what does the next thing look like that's completely different? That's just tapping into where you want to be and what you want to do. And I don't have the full answer to that yet, but what I know I've enjoyed is just experiencing the world differently.
Wow.
Just so much lighter to be able to think about the world in a different way, see the world close up in a different way, and not have so much, I got to get back, I got to be tethered to my phone, I got to get like that intensity that we have. Like we're always like this. Our bodies are literally clenched up and tight, like typing all the time, because we're waiting for the next ball to drop, the next call to come, the next, and all of that is necessary. And I get it. But to have an actual break, to not have that is a requirement that I think all people should figure out how to do for themselves.
Wow.
And I think also that, our society has this bizarre structure that we should work until we are retiring at 65 or 72, which assumes a lot of things. It assumes our health. It assumes our ableness. It assumes that, we will have the resources at that time. But most importantly, that you're alive.
Right.
Tomorrow is not promised. So I think that has hit differently with a number of family and friends who have left and transitioned this year, to say, well, what are we really doing? And what are we really working for? And what do we really need? And being really much more thoughtful about answering those questions for ourselves, as opposed to just, we're on this thing, we're just working. Obviously, we have bills to pay, private school, college, blah, 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 blah. Yes, all of those things are true. But are we accomplishing those goals in the best way for our whole selves? And even if we plan small breaks of a real vacation, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4, like that, really where you can just really decompress, really take a minute and think about your health, your life, your passions, your joy, and then seeing the world. Like right now, I am a bit on the world tour, but learning a lot about communities and the international world we live in, and culture, and understanding what travel brings to people, and that notion of experiences. I think part of in COVID, when we were locked down and we couldn't go anywhere, and we were like, what is happening? And now we can be outside. So what does being outside look like? And what do we want to see? And where do we want to go? And how do we want to experience it? It's a really sweet spot for me right now.
Because you'd be outside.
I mean, I'm outside a little bit.
All right. Before we actually close, some rapid fire questions. Best restaurant, favorite restaurant in New York?
Oh my God, rapid fire. That's so hard. There's so many. Probably I would say, well, Tatiana is my favorite right now. So that's, but that when you can get in there. But I'm a Brooklyn girl. So one of my favorites is just easy. It's Evelina in Brooklyn. It's just perfect every time. Delicious. Evelina. Just perfect, easy.
Best coffee shop.
Well, I don't do coffee. I'm just tea.
Okay.
So I love also in our neighborhood, Polly's. It's great.
Polly's.
For great tea.
Clothing store, your go-to?
Go-to is Free People. I love Free People. I'm obsessed. Free People. Free People and Aerie.
And for you, best travel destination?
Oh, best travel destination. I'm going to go with the Caribbean. Barbados and Nevis are kind of my best. But, why limit yourself?
Yeah.
Cape Town comes right after. And I'll let you know about Madagascar when I get back.
Oh, yes. Okay. Jeanine Liburd, thank you so much. This has been great. A lot of fun.
Thank you.
And wishing you all the best on your exploring. And thank you for everything that you've done for me, for our community.
Well, thank you for all that you have done for me and our community. It's been a wonderful, wonderful ride.
Awesome.